Today's daf is daf Chav Dalid, and we're talking about Meiser Sheni, and specifically about Pidyon Meiser Sheni, in the case where a wife is being poda Meiser Sheni of her husband. We're not sure exactly which most she's using, or is she using most that belongs to her husband, most that belongs to herself. And the halacha is that when you poda Meiser Sheni, you have to add a chomesh, unless you're being poda Meiser Sheni on behalf of someone else. How do we view the relationship between the Isha and the Isha, the Baal and the Isha, within the framework of a ksuba? And the Gemara says first, on the top of Chav Dalid, in the name of a Brisa, and the Brisa says, Ein Isha poda Meiser Sheni b'lo chomesh, that if she is fulfilling the mitzvah of Pidyon Meiser Sheni on behalf of Baal, she has to add a chomesh. And basically, her status is identical to that of her husband, who's the Baal Peros. And just like the Baal Peros himself, her husband would have to be Mosif Chomesh when he's pod his masas, so does his wife. But Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Omer Mishum Rabbi Meir, Isha poda Meiser Sheni below Chomesh. Rabbi Meir views the Isha as a foreigner. She's not being mafresh her own maser, but maser on behalf of someone else, in this case, her husband. And in such a case, you don't add a chomesh. Gemara asks, if both the tefua belongs to the Baal and the money she's using belongs to the Baal, then shlichusi the Baal kavda. She's simply a representative and agent of her husband, and therefore we don't understand Rabbi Meir. How could Rabbi Meir possibly say that she doesn't add a chomesh? It's basically the husband himself, the bailim, who's being mafresh and being poda. Right? We know that the maser belongs to the husband. There was no question. But maybe she's using her own zuzim, and therefore, when she uses her own zuzim, then she could be poda the maser of her husband. And she doesn't have to add a chomesh. That's Rabbi Meir's shita and Kein Kasha. Now we have to ask the following question: Ish Amar Achman of the Torah in the parasha in Vayikra Chav Zayin says Im Gaol Yigal Ish Mimasra. If we emphasize the word Ish, we have a mute as far as chomesh is concerned. That Velo Isha, she doesn't have to add a chomesh. So what then is the reasoning of the Tanakama in this case, that the woman has to add a chomesh when she's being poda with her own money, and the Torah says ish v'lo isha. Ela lav ki hagavna. Therefore, by process of elimination, we should interpret the brisa thusly: the achni la acher mana. Somebody else gave her a mana, and he bequeathed the money to her and transferred that money to her. Amar la, she says, and he, the owner of the money, says to the isha, I'm only giving you this gift of mos so that you can be poda your husband's maser. Here's where we have a machlok between Tanakam and Rabbi Meir. When he makes that tanai, that I'm giving you this mana for the express purpose and only for the purpose of being poda your husband's maser, then do we recognize that Tanai as a valid Tanai? And therefore, she's really basically saying that this money that she got from somebody else, which was earmarked for Pidyon of Maser, and the no-saint made a Tanai that you can only use it for Pidyon Maser, then is that Tanai valid? So the Gemara tries to now fit this into the machlokas between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. Ela lav ki hagavni achti lo acher mana v'yom lo manas shetifti bo maser is ibcha shamina lo. Now it comes out that the Bryce is telling me the exact opposite of what we knew until now, and it turns out that Rabbi Meir and the Chacham are arguing, each one taking the other's position. Because according to Tanakama, this Tanai is not effective. And the Baal is Koda the Mana, even though the Nosein said, I want to give it to you only for pigeon maser, but nevertheless, the halacha takes over, invalidates the Tanai. And according to the Tanakama, the money here is given straight to the Baal. And therefore, when she's poda on this money, it's a pidyon of the maser Baal on the money of the Baal. Everything belongs to the Baal. And therefore, you certainly have to add a chomish. And that's the sheet of the Tanakama. Rabbi Meir holds that the Tanai is valid. The Baal is not kona the mana. Therefore, she's using her own mana that she got as matona from an acher to be poda the maser, and therefore she doesn't have to add a chomish. So it comes out that the brisa is contradicting what we have over here. Rabbi says just change the names around. And the first brisa, when it says Divrei Rabbi Meir, then we're going to change that. We're going to say that Li Rabbi Meir, just like an Eved is not kona the mana that's given to him almanas sheyetze bo becherus, so too ena isha kona samana almanas shetifta bo samase. And Rabbi Meir rejects this Tanai. So then if he rejects this Tanai, then the mana, as well as the Paris, of course, belong to the Baal. And therefore, when she's poded, she is serving as a shliach, and she has to add a chomesh onto the Tmei pigeon. However, according to the Chachamim, this Tanai is valid. The mana therefore belongs exclusively to the Isha. And now when she's being poded on the Paris of the Baal, she doesn't have to add a chomesh because she is not the Baal Atvua, and she's the one who made his chayvus to be poded. So that's Abai. So Abai is forced into the corner of Epuch. Rava says, Leolam Lote, we don't have to be forced into that corner, and you don't have to turn upside down the brisa between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. But Hacham Maser, the Osam Bei Noshas Kina, she inherited Maser from her father or from her father's relatives. Now, what's the status of that money that she inherited? Rabbi Meir Omar, Rabbi Meir is of the opinion that Litamei, the Omar, Maser Momen Hegdeshu, V'lo Koni Le'Baal. Rabbi Meir is going to be consistent with his shita that there's no such thing as Maser Momon Bailin. It's only Momon Hegdesh. It doesn't belong to the Baal Peros. And the Baal Peros never acquired it with any kinyan. And therefore, this is a different kind of Yerusha than your general universal Yerusha. When a woman inherits property based on Via, then the Baal eats the Peros. That's the Takon of Ksuba. However, now we're saying no. Masechet is not Momon Bailin, but rather Momon Hegdesh. And if it's Momon Hegdesh, then it belongs to the Isha exclusively. So when she's being poda, she doesn't have to add a chomesh. For Rabbanon, and the Rabbanon say that the Isha has to add a chomesh, l'tamei, they are consistent with the Shita the Amri Momon Hedju, that Maser Sheni is owned by the Bailim. And if the Bailim, for example, die, then the daughter will inherit the Maser. The Kanile Baal, and now the Baal is being kono like any nichse malug, which are knuyim lo leperoseim, and hilkach shlichusa de Baal ka'avda. Now we understand very well that when she is poda the maser of her husband onto the money of her husband, is then she's simply serving the roles of shliach, and therefore the Baal would have to be Mosif Chomesh. And the Gemara supports this with a Tana, with a Brisa. In the case of an Eviknani, Yotzi Lecheris B'Shem V'ayin, Ubeshar Roshe Evarim Sheinam Chosu. Okay, so this is going to be our sugya for today about Yitzia Lecheris B'Otzoas Shein V'ayin and Roshe Evarim, which we'll explain. So the Gemara tries to clarify this din that the Eved is mishtachre, bishle mashen v'rega v'ayin ksive. Both shein and ayin are written explicitly in the Torah. It says v'chiyake ish es ein avdo o es ein amoso. So this we can understand that the Torah is outspoken about the kiyake ishes ein avdo or eshen avdo is lechavshi yishalchenu tachas shein. Ella, but the Brisa says that an Eved is yotzi lecheres b'shar rosh evarim, and we have here a list here of which evarim are included. I'm not going to read the whole list. It says Rosh Etzbos, Yodayim, Vraglayim, the fingers, the toes, Rosh Yoznayim, Rosh Chotem, Rosh Hagid, is Minolan. What's the source for the fact that if the Adon knocks out let's say a finger of his Eved, then the Eved goes free? And the answer is we're going to learn it from Svara. The Torah only mentions Shein V'Ayin, but we're going to make Shein V'Ayin into a klal, into a general concept or principle. Ma Shein V'Ayin mumim shebegolui. Shein V'Ayin are noticeable if he knocks out his teeth or his eye. V'Yedem chozrim, and there's no way of retracting what happened. Is af kol mumim shebegolui v'Yedem chozrim. In all of those cases, the din is that if the Adon knocks out one of those Eivarim, which is Mumim Shebegoli V'Enim Chozrim, and is similar therefore to Shein V'Rega, Shein V'Ayin, therefore he goes free. Now it's interesting. The Tosfos, not here but elsewhere, Bechoros wants to compare these dinim to Mum Kohen. Right, the din is that if a Kohen, manifests a mum, then he's possible for the avodah. So the question would be whether that halacha is identical to the halacha of an Eved Knani who goes out b'shem v'ayin v'roshe prokim. Would that also serve as a muma posel kohen la'avodas hamikdash? So the Gemara asks the following question on this limud: the emun a heavy shein v'yank shnei ksubabam ke'echad v'kol shnei ksubabam ke'echrei malamdin. Notice the Torah established and formulated the din of Yitzil Lecherus in both shein v'yayin. And why did the Torah have to repeat this din in two different scenarios? If it applies to all Eivarim, the Torah just mentioned either Shein or Ayin. And therefore, we apply the principle of Shnei Ksum Abam Kechrei Melamdin. And therefore, we're going to come to the conclusion that no other of the Rosh Eivarim can be Meshach the Eved. Gemara says, name. You are making a mistake. You think that these two psukim, or at least one of these two psukim, is Iberik, it's extra. That's not true. Tzricha. We need both. We need Shein V'Ayin, and we need Shari Varm. Tzrichi. De'i Kosav Rachmona. Shein. If the Torah had only written a din of Yitzias, Ha'eved L'cheres in the case of Shein, Havamina, I would have thought, and we're trying to understand now, what would have been our possible conclusion if we, if we understand that that when the Torah says Shein, it's really just a binyan av for all Eivar.